Good morning, and thank you all for coming out. It's lovely to see you here. Welcome to the Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a come as you are congregation. No matter who you are, what your faith, or who you love, you are welcome here. I want to extend a special welcome to any first or second time visitors. We would love to stay connected, so if you like, please sign up for our communications back at the main entrance. The Namakwa Unitarian Universalist Congregation fosters a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, acts mindfully for the good of the planet, and inspires spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. We recognize and honor all peoples and vow to reconcile the deep wounds that still shape our world today. Today we will be honoring and celebrating our departed loved ones by building an altar. During that ceremony, you will be invited to bring up a token of your beloved or beloveds who have passed. If you have not brought an item but would like to offer a remembrance, we have some bright colored paper cutouts, or papel picado, on which you can write your beloved's name. The ushers would be happy to bring one to you, so if you'd like one, you can raise your hand and they'll be up with one. I think we have an additional announcement for... Yep.
Make this very quick. As you all have received probably a letter by this time about giving gratitude, and we talked about a congregational meeting. We need to get ourselves back on track financially, and we made a commitment to ourselves that we would raise an additional $20,000. And as we stand right now, with lovely part that Sherri and McTee did, we're at 10. So we're halfway there.
Right.
And if you didn't notice the gratitude box, I put it as obviously as I could. We have a box there that you can drop your form that you receive in the mail and mark on that. And in Parker Hall, or you can put it in an envelope and send it back to church. I say an envelope. You should receive an envelope. If you are clueless to what I'm talking about, please see me or Sherri after service. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any additional announcements you can find in our weekly email and the calendar of events that we have on the back table. And please join us for coffee hour after the service today. I'd like to thank everyone who's involved in our service today. Ryan on the piano, Sherri will join us with flute, and we have Bill and Leo taking care of tech, and I believe we have several people joining us from home as well. I know the roads are rough, so thank you all for being here.
And the people who came to shovel the snow. Like spring, autumn is a period of transition. It's a time of year when the season of life meets the season of death. This is when we harvest the crops to sustain us during the cold winter months. We light bonfires to add warmth and light as the sun recedes. This phase, the midpoint between fall equinox and winter solstice, is a reminder of the value of change. From cheerful, buzzing, lush green summer that transforms eventually into changing colors, falling leaves, and withering plants, moving toward a dark, calm, quiet time of winter that encourages reflection and going within. I cued it in well, didn't I? At this time when we welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark, many believe that the barriers between the physical world and the spirit world break down, allowing more interaction between humans and souls of the other world. So during this service, we will examine the traditions of cultures that acknowledge the changes during this season, and they pay tribute to the departed loved ones. We'll explore differences and universal practices, bringing awareness and respect for other cultures and traditions. Throughout the service, we've chosen poetry that conveys the emotions and sensations that may arise in the commemoration of those who have passed. For example, in her poem, When Great Trees Fall, Maya Angelou uses symbolism and strong imagery to illustrate one's reaction to loss. It doesn't matter how powerful or tough you are, when a significant person in your life passes, you feel the effects. Here are a few of those stanzas that capture the feelings. When great trees fall in forests, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe deeply. Our eyes briefly see with hurtful clarity. Our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid. Promised walks never taken. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always, irregularly. Space is filled with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses, restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. In this excerpt from Remember, written by English poet Christina Rossetti, we are also reminded of the importance of holding on to the memories, but giving our loved ones permission to move on. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far away into the silent land. When you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning, stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me. As we remember our departed loved ones, let us together create a sacred space where we honor them and acknowledge their presence in our lives. With that, please join me in the affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Let us share the spirit of love today by greeting those sitting around you.
Hello, hello, hello.
Glad you could make it. That was nice. Thank you. Good morning again. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah.
What is your name?
Yeah.
I'm Linda. Nice to meet you. Hi, Pedro.
Need more volume? All right. Yeah. A little more volume on her. Maybe just a little more volume on Linda.
For each child is born, the morning star rises, sings to the universe who we are.
If we have anyone young in body or spirit that would like to join for our Story for All Ages today, I'll be reading Tess's Tree by Jess M. Brailer. Yeah, come on up. Hello, Everett. This is Tess. And this is Tess's tree. Tess loved to swing from her tree, play in the leaves, and camp out under it. Tess loved her tree. Tess was exactly 9 years, 3 months, and 2 days old. Tess's tree was about 175 years old. That's very old for a tree. The leaves of Tess's tree grew green in the spring and turned yellow in the fall. And long ago, the words Tyler and Max had been carved within the shape of a heart on the trunk of Tess's tree. You can see that heart right there. One night, a storm blew hard and long, making the tree's old branches bend and shake. A big branch fell from Tess's tree, and then another one fell. Tess's mom was worried. She said the tree could fall and hurt someone. Not my tree, thought Tess. But Tess's tree was taken down. Tess was angry. She threw her toys. She screamed at the neighbors and kicked the other trees. Tess was sad. She hugged the branch that used to hold her swing. She lay on the stump of her tree and cried for a long time. Tess had to do something for her tree. She couldn't just let it quietly go away. I know, she thought, my tree will have a funeral. Tess invited friends, family, and neighbors to celebrate the life of Tess's tree. She set up chairs and helped the children of her tree dress up for the service. When the service began, Tess walked slowly to the stump of her tree. She laid a flower on it, wiped her nose, and sat on the nearest chair. Tess's teacher stood next to the stump and read a poem about a swing. How do you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, do I think the pleasantest thing ever a child could do? Tess cried when she thought about her tree in the swing. A handsome husband and pretty wife who looked like movie stars walked slowly to the tree's stump. Dear friends of Tess's tree, said the wife, I'm Tyler. And, said the husband, I'm Max. They looked at Tess and smiled. Wow, Tess whispered, it's them. This was once our tree too, Tyler said. They each kissed Tess on the cheek. An older woman walked unsteadily to the stump. My dear friends, the lady said, this is me as a child. She held up an old photo. More than 70 years ago, happily climbing among the branches of Tess's tree. Awesome, thought Tess. The old woman turned to Tess. I loved your tree. Here, please, this is for you. She handed the old photograph to Tess. Tess's mother stood next to the stump and invited Tess to join her. She told the friends of Tess's tree how proud she was of her daughter. Tess smiled and thanked the people for helping to celebrate the life of her tree. That night, Tess looked out her bedroom window to where her tree once stood. She thought about all her tree had done for so many people. A last tear dried. She was okay. Thank you for joining me. And now let us stand and sing out our Everett and the spirit of all children together with this little light of mine. This little light of mine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let Here we are at the edge of something, a line of infinitesimal thickness, too easy to cross in one direction and impenetrable from the other. In this season, which the cycle of life brings us to now, as it has people throughout all ages, we lay the bounty of harvest under the same ground where we lay our beloved to rest. As we near this line, this thinned veil, let us do so with a light, a flame to bring warmth and sight, a beacon to draw close those who have released their bodies, to dwell in our hearts and memories, and become part of that great mystery we are all destined to join.
For many around the world, death represents a crossing from this life to the next. Feelings surrounding the topic and our response to the loss are heavily influenced by cultural beliefs. While many respond to the loss with feelings of grief, some ethnicities view it as an opportunity to celebrate the life or legacy of the deceased loved one. Some cultures honor their ancestors in hopes of familial blessings or provisions. Others observe their beloved's reincarnation or passage into the afterlife. Examples of cultures across the world that celebrate death include the Peruvians, Pacific Islanders, the ancient Persians, the ancient Romans, and the northern nations of Europe. Let's explore a few of the cultures with which we are most familiar. In Mexico, we have Dia de los Muertos, known as Day of the Dead. This lively Mexican holiday, which is really a blend of Mesoamerican ritual, European ritual, and Spanish culture, is celebrated each year from October 31st to November 2nd. It is a time when families welcome back the souls of their departed loved ones and is marked by parades of people dressed in costumes, with music, dancing, and rich food. Families prepare their loved ones' favorite dishes. In his book, Death and the Idea of Mexico, Claudio Lomnitz, an anthropologist at Columbia University, posits that one reason more people may be taking part in Dia de Muertos celebrations is that the holiday addresses a reality that is rarely acknowledged by our modern culture, that is, our own mortality. In New Orleans, we find the jazz funeral. Gaining popularity in the 19th century, mourners followed a jazz band to the funeral location as the band played somber music. Afterward, the band would change to a lively tempo, signifying the intentional celebration of the person's life. These rituals capture the conflicting emotions that arise when mourning the loss of a loved one. In India and Nepal, the death anniversary, or Shraddh, means give with devotion or offer one's respect. Shraddh is a ritual expressing one's respectful feelings for the ancestors. Mourners wear a ring of kush grass and offer a dough form made of barley, flour, sesame, and rice. So we see once again, we have that offering of food in multiple cultures around the world. In ancient Egypt, they had a complex system of polytheistic beliefs and rituals that formed an integral part of the ancient Egyptian culture. They centered on interactions with many deities. These involved prayer and offerings to the gods to gain their favor. And they included mummification, incantations, and burial with goods thought to be needed in the afterlife. If we look to our own country, in the Native Americans, every family and tribe has their own traditional way, but there are commonalities such as prayers, songs, smudging, and personal items that can be placed next to the casket or burial area of the deceased. Things like toys are left with children, weapons or clothes with adults. Also common across tribes is chanting of prayers and the placement of the prayer items, such as prayer feathers. These are carefully selected, washed, and steamed, and then attached to the deceased's body. I'm going to bring us around to something that is even more familiar to us. The Celts. The Celtic festival, Samhain, is the predecessor of our tradition of Halloween. All Celtic peoples conceived of a fundamental dichotomy between light and dark, with light representing positive, lucky, fruitful values, and the dark representing negative, threatening, destructive values. Because the Celts believed that the veil between the worlds is thinnest during Samhain, they prepared offerings that were left outside villages for the fairies. It was expected that ancestors might cross over during this time as well. So the Celts would dress as animals and monsters so that fairies were not tempted to kidnap their ancestors. As the Middle Ages progressed, so did the celebrations of the fire festivals. Carved turnips called jack-o'-lanterns began to appear, attached to sticks by strings and embedded with coal. Later, we find the Irish tradition switched to pumpkins. About 1,200 years ago, it was appropriated by the Catholic Church as a religious holiday, and it was known as All Hallows Day, which was November 1st. They celebrated the saints, but the old beliefs associated with Samhain never died out entirely. Explained by folklorist Jack Santino, the powerful symbolism of the traveling dead was too strong, and perhaps too basic to the human psyche. Hence, the first night of Samhain, October 31st, became All Hallows Eve, the night before the saints were venerated. These customs have morphed into what we in the United States experience as Halloween. The examples that I've highlighted here merely skim the surface of the cultural practices that honor the dead, with some of them influencing our current customs in this country. Today, we are going to borrow from these traditions while we add our own signature to the celebration. We would like to do that by creating an altar and having you process and bring your items or tokens of your loved ones up while we have some beautiful Native American flute music playing in the background. Because shrines and altars give us opportunities to remember, to reflect, and to honor, as well as to help heal the pain of loss through the act of creating. They might be a private place in your home, which you can return to. You can reflect, meditate, you can grieve in private, and then engage in a ritual of remembrance and honoring of the deceased. Our remembrance altar is representative of the mix of cultures in our community. It bears favorite foods. I brought some of my mom's favorite cookies, flowers, symbols of purifying the fire, and passage of souls, the wind. So as we build the altar, please come forward, and as you place your items on the altar, you can speak the names of the people that you are remembering today. Just speak them into the room. Clay, would you come and help us with that? Sherri, would you go ahead and play? Do you want me over here? Yes.
I clearly remember a scene in the Star Wars movie Return of the Jedi, in which our brave protagonist Luke Skywalker contemplates a trio of apparitions watching over him, his father and two of his mentors. I'm certain that repeated viewings of this scene in my childhood informed the way I internalized the experience of my ancestors being present in my life, as though they're standing just outside my own Ewok village, translucent and benevolently smiling on me as I live my life. Even though my stance on the afterlife has changed radically since my Southern Baptist church-going days, I've held this somatic sense of my departed beloved's presence. It is a comfort. And while I may no longer see them as looking down on me from the vantage of a paradise, I do know that in the way that they have shaped me, in the way that I am constituted from their influences, they are with me still. You know, I see the self as a kind of pattern, like a waveform that describes the shape of a sound. I can't say that I am my body or my body is me. So many cells of a younger clay have returned to the earth, and plants that have yet to grow will call forth pieces of a future me from the soil. How I think and what I value may stay the same or they may change. Where I live, the people in my life, what I do for work, all of these may be different. Yet there is some aspect of me that remains the same, that carries a recognizable consistency. That is the pattern of who I am. That pattern of the self, expressed in every person, resonates within the lives of those they touch. There's a mathematical function called a Fourier transform, named after an 18th century French mathematician. One use of this kind of modern magic spell is to get at the secrets of audio signals or sounds, such as music or speech, or in the application where I learned of it, the buzzing of bees in their hives. Its arcane workings illustrate how any sound, no matter how complex, is made from a myriad of elemental frequencies. Combining the right set of simple tones can produce a sophisticated signature soundscape. In this way, in my uniqueness and my individual character, I am made up of the patterns of those I call my ancestors. William Doyle and Eunice Fay, Wilbur Franklin, Barbara Louise, Jason Sterling. So much of what makes me up, the way I see the world and how I want to treat people, and those things I wish to change about myself, comes from them. Their heritage both carries me through life and requires me to shoulder its weight. There is quite a difference between remembering our departed beloved and being with them. I call mine to be with me, to step out of the photographs I treasure and into my life, where I can hold them close. When I recognize in myself the inclination to lean into generosity and compassion, I give thanks for their examples woven into me. When I have struggled with challenges arising from codependency and my addictive nature, I am grateful that I know where these come from and that I've seen how they can play out if I don't choose differently. I continue to learn from my ancestors, and I invite you to do the same. My hope for all of us is that we can find ways to honor our departed beloveds in how we live and in what we choose to pass on. What we do with this matter, this earth we borrow and turn into flesh, becomes our heritage. A heritage we leave to those whom we impart with our patterns, our ways of being, our quirks, our foibles, our aspirations, and our fears. We can choose to try to pass on the best of what we've inherited and leave the rest to the river of time, to make what we leave behind just that much better for our presence. Especially in this season, when people throughout time have felt the thinning of that veil, what greater way could there be to honor our ancestors and their legacy? As we sang earlier, those who have died have never left. May we call them in to hold them close, and in holding them close, more deeply explore their heritage. May we choose what manner of ancestors we will be and what form our heritage will take, so that it will carry instead of burden. May it be so. Each week, you support the work of this congregation and all the ways we live our values in the world through your own generosity. In addition to supporting this church, half of your donations support a local nonprofit organization, helping us to make a difference beyond our walls. Today, our donations are supporting One Colorado. They are the state's leading advocacy organization dedicated to advancing equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer, or LGBTQIA2S+ Coloradans and their families. One Colorado is also working to change the hearts and minds of everyday Coloradans on LGBTQ issues. Through our public education efforts, where we tell the stories of barriers that LGBTQ Coloradans face every day, they have started to change public opinions about these families in Colorado. With your ongoing support, One Colorado will continue to advocate for the LGBTQ community and make an impact across the state. Please give generously.
As we leave this sacred space and go about our lives, we take with us the memories and emotions of this time spent remembering and honoring those who have transitioned. In his poem, I Am Close, Kevin Pearson beautifully summarizes this connection we have to our departed. In your thoughts, we will touch. In your dreams, we will meet. Now our hearts beat as one. I am your shadow. I'll always be close. Hear my voice in the wind. See our dance in the song. Feel my warmth in the sun. Remember my love. I'll always be close. Do not weep for my loss. Time will pass. Pain will fade. You will laugh and I'll smile. Live your life, my love. I'll always be close. After the service, please join us for coffee and conversation in the fellowship hall.